What is going on, guys? My name is Damien. So this is going to be my Flash episode 23 season 2 finale video. I'm sorry for this video being late. A lot of you guys know I was in Florida and I only got back yesterday and I was just too tired, too exhausted. I couldn't watch the episode until this morning. So I'm posting it now. There's a lot to talk about. I still knew certain things that were going on, so I was getting spoilers throughout, even though I wasn't there watching the episode because I had a friend of mine, upload scenes for me. He came through, saved me on that Tuesday night, so that was great. But let's talk about it. I know a lot of you guys probably have a lot of questions. You probably watched other videos. You probably want to know what I think about it. So let's get right into it. There was a lot of Flashpoint stuff here. There was also some Crisis on Infinite Earth. There was just a ton of stuff that they really kind of pulled from. And The Flash has always been a show that's really just kind of stuck to different comic book storylines. They haven't really kind of done their own thing for the most part. Even if they improvise and they expand and change some things, they usually stay on at least a somewhat planned course before the season even starts. Like when they're writing seasons, you pretty much know that they're going to be following a lot of the comics in some way, shape, or form. So there were just a lot here for Crisis on Infinite Earth and the Flashpoint. Now, Zoom and his Speed Force rules, there was a whole lot going on, and I was actually happy that they were able to give some more backstory to Zoom so we fully understand his character and his timeline as far as how he did things, got his powers, and the time rates, getting some more explanation on that, some nods to the Black Flash. There's a whole bunch of stuff, so it's really, really hard. Anyway, episode was fantastic. I really liked it. I know a lot of people are not happy about the way it ended because just with Barry traveling back in time, it changes some things, but we'll get to that. I'm gonna do some separate videos because there's too much to talk about in this review. But just know that I really liked the episode and that they have done a really good job with this show. So Barry is dealing with the loss of his father. It picks up right where episode 22 left off, and the episode was really fast paced for the most part. Even though they had a decent amount of dialogue, there was a lot going on, and you knew there was going to be a final battle with Zoom. Everyone pretty much knew that going into it. But dealing with the loss of his father, he never really even gets to truly sit there and process what is really happening. He's just fixated on Zoom and dealing with Zoom himself. So that was really where Barry had to be the entire episode. He really didn't have much of a choice. He was going between wanting revenge and doing what's right, and there's so much here to his character, and I think Grant Gust just does a really, really good job of portraying the character of Barry Allen, and I'm really glad that he was cast. So in the comics, though, the Speed Force was really just referenced as an energy source, so they've done some things here with the Speed Force, like giving it more of somewhat of a voice. And so Zoom, him and his Speed Force rules, him kind of talking about that, him taking the Magnetar. And this is why in my episode 20 video, I did mention some stuff about Crisis on Infinite Earth. I did say that Anti-Monitor was a character that I didn't mention his character and how they kind of referenced it to things that happened in that episode. Now, the Magnetar is actually a lot like the Anti-Monitor's gun, and it's kind of crazy. So Barry had to run around it to stop it, and the Time Remnant here is just their way of kind of simplifying some things, because when he ran around to stop it, he ended up dying. So they throw this in, and this is where they're kind of merging some storylines. So you're getting a mix of Flashpoint / Crisis, and it's a really, really cool way of doing it. It never ever feels like they're veering too far off the main path, and it's like if you take some liberties with it, it's still pretty cool. So as far as that goes, I didn't really think it was too big of a deal. I know a lot of people were not happy with the time rates the time remnants, sorry, because they're looking at it as just like a plot device where they use it to kind of wrap up storylines. And I guess you could look at it that way because they definitely are using that to, for the most part, tie up some knots. And you kind of just end storylines that way. But at least they're not doing a lot of different things or going way off like they could have done if they were following something like the way Arrow's doing it. So it's okay from my perspective, but it is just something that they'll continue to work with as they go, and that there's going to be a lot of characters coming back. So to talk about Zoom, him being the Black Flash, obviously big nod there. The time rates come in because he's been breaking the Speed Force rules, and Barry explaining it at the end. It all just kind of it was all well done to me. It just transitioned smoothly, and that's really what I liked. The episode had a good pacing, and even though it's pretty confusing, I actually have two cousins that stopped watching the show because they said it's just too much for them. They liked season 1 a lot, but they have a hard time. They're both women, and they just have a hard time. That's what they told me. They said they just had a really hard time because they're not into the superhero stuff as much. So they said even though they enjoyed like Barry and Iris and they liked the character, they found it really confusing. And season 2 for them was just a little overwhelming with the multiple, worlds and that type of thing. So I can see that for sure. But having the Black Flash, I think if they had watched up to this point, they would just really be completely lost with the time remnants and then the time rates coming in, the Speed Force, understanding all of these things. It gets really crazy. But I really like Teddy Sears as the Black Flash, and he will, as Zoom. I'm getting carried away, getting ahead of myself, but he will be back. So there's definitely some Black Flash nods there. His costume, the red logo, everything there is. They pretty much have what they're doing is setting things up for future seasons, and that's great. So he will be back for sure. No one knows exactly how long, of course, but it could easily be done. It's very, very simple for them to do. So the time rates come in, take them away, and it's goodbye to Teddy Sears for now, and hello again, potentially in season 3 for at least 1 or 2 episodes, and then season 4. I expect him in season 3 at least once or twice for sure. I think they'd have to have a lot going on for him not to show up. So the big things in this episode, the thing that people really kind of look forward to a lot, we all speculated about Jay Garrick. Turns out he was the guy in the mask, and John Wesley Shipp, the old Flash costume. They basically put some more nods again. If you remember, some of you guys might know of at least the old Flash TV show that they had back in the 90s. The costume was actually, they had some nods to it there, just like the placement of like the lightning bolt and things like that. So it was pretty cool. And even though he's not going to be on next season, probably for most of the episodes, we can at least expect Jay Garrick to show up for 1 or 2 episodes and so on. And it's nice to have just John Wesley Shipp playing that character. So he kind of gets to come back and we see him again, even though the character Barry's father is officially dead. We'll still get to have John Wesley Shipp on the show, kind of like how they did with Tom Cavanaugh playing Harrison Wells. So that's really, really cool. And it worked out really well for them, like his exit, his transition for the character. Like the real Jay Garrick is pretty cool. He looked great in costume. It was nice to see him in costume. So really amazing. But the things that everyone really wants to talk about, the things that everybody's really discussing and speculating about, because a lot of people are not happy. Some people are. West Allen fans are obviously disappointed because where Barry and Iris are, their relationship, that slow burn that's kind of built up for so long, has basically been undone by the ending of the episode. Barry Allen chooses to go back in time and save his mother. Now, this is basically a culmination of so many things that's happened to him. I think he just can't bear the fact that he has lost both parents and both of them killed by speedsters, and he just can't deal with that. So he goes back in time. Now, this is where the big Flashpoint stuff comes in. I highly recommend you guys read it if you've never read any of this stuff before, or at least watch the movie. The movie was really, really good. But he goes back in time, and his one choice to save his mother alters everything, and he never becomes the Flash, and so many things are different. Now, what I'm hoping is that this will alter Arrow as well. Best case scenario, we can at least hope for that. But at least if they make some changes on Arrow for the next season, that would be great. But we'll see how it goes. Now, when he does this, the drastic changes that they're going to implement, I'm not sure how season 3 is going to play out, because season 3 is going to be about him having to overcome this and adjust everything. See, what will end up happening is that some point in season 3, he's going to have to give himself the powers of the Flash again. At least this is how I expect it to play out if they are going to choose to go that route. He'll have to give himself, recreate the accident, give himself the powers, and then stop himself being the season 2 version of him that just ran from that episode, from the season finale episode, that runs back to save his mother. He'll have to run back in time, catch himself, and stop himself from saving his mom. This is where it gets really confusing. So just think about that scene last night, or on Tuesday night in the finale, when he's there saving his mom. There's the season 1 version of the Flash that ran back when Eobard basically gave him the know-how to do it. He ran back and he tried to save his mother. But then the Flash, who was fighting Eobard in that scenario told him don't do it. Then you have, so now there's a third Flash present here. So now we have season 1 Flash, season 2 Flash, and then the initial Flash that was fighting Eobard there. It gets really crazy, it gets really confusing, and that's just the nature of this show. I myself don't understand so many things, and this show is basically becoming one of those shows that's going to force you to kind of go to the source material. It's kind of like the way Game of Thrones was. Game of Thrones wasn't like something where I had to go read the books, but I felt compelled to do it because I just liked the show a lot and I wanted to know more. That's how you have to look at the Flash. So if you really want a lot of that backstory, you're going to have to go to the books, or the comics rather. You're going to have no choice. So, but all in all, I think the Flashpoint paradox, I think them doing this, I think is great. I think it's ambitious, and I look forward to see what they're actually going to do. So, and I know that I'm like rambling, and there's so many thoughts right now in my mind just about the show, and I didn't cover everything, but Barry and Iris are going to be fine. I'm going to do a separate video on them, on what it means for their relationship. Cisco was great as always. Joe was fantastic. The episode was really fast-paced, like I said, and Teddy Sears, he stole the show. Zoom was just fantastic. It was great to have him throughout this season, just working on the show. Just he really took the character to new places and just exploring his backstory. He was a really, really complicated character, so it was great to have him on. All in all, it was a great finale. Was it better than the season 1 finale? I'm not sure. I really like the Reverse Flash. For me, Reverse Flash is the guy. He's always going to be my favorite villain of the Flash. So we'll see. We'll see just what they do. But I'll have different videos and stuff going on throughout this summer about the Flash and Arrow and all of that other good stuff. So thank you guys for watching. Again, I do apologize for the video being a little bit later than normal. And I will see you guys in another video. Please like, subscribe, share the video. It does help. Any support on this channel is appreciated. And I'll see you guys in another video. My name is Damien.